a bad mic.
Hi, welcome to the Catholic Corner. I'm Monsignor Walter Nolan. Catholic Relief Services is just one of the greatest organizations that I think I've ever come across. We always like to talk about an organization that does things, speaks things. Well, I like to talk about this organization from its heart, because if an organization has a heart, Catholic Relief Services has a tremendous heart. They carry out the commitment of our bishops, the bishops of the United States, to assist the poor and the vulnerable overseas. Today we're going to discuss a CRS initiative aimed at permanently ending hunger and easing suffering, not just by providing food, but by teaching and training the communities to provide food for themselves for the long term. And I think that's a real key. See, this initiative, it's called Helping Hands. It's a volunteer event available to a Catholic Church community throughout the entire United States. Catholic Relief Services and the faith-based organization Stop Hunger now partnered to provide a direct service event that is supported with CRS educational resources and speakers. Stop Hunger Now provide groups with all of the materials they need to package thousands of meals in one event. Thousands of meals in one event. CRS provides the parish and school resources, speakers, and post-event engagement tools to continue the discussion of social justice in the community. Young people from all over our diocese participated in a Helping Hands event at our Eucharistic Congress, combining the Eucharist with the live Eucharist of bringing people food. 39 elementary schools, 11 high schools, and many other religious education and youth groups participated in the project. See, at the Congress, 600 to 700 of these young people actually helped package 27,000 meals in 3 separate sessions. 27,000 meals. That's like 27,000 people who are hungry would eat. The meals they packaged will feed people in Burkina Faso, West Africa, a country in the midst of a severe food and refugee crisis. You talk about the Lord feeding the 5,000, and we multiply it, and we multiply it. My guest today will share this great volunteering opportunity and how well it was received by the youth in our diocese, and I might even say not only the youth in our diocese, but the young at heart in our diocese. Sarah Robinson is the manager of community giving for Catholic Relief Services. After CRS conducted market research on what motivates Catholics to think of the poor overseas, Sarah began forming a program in partnership with Stop Hunger Now that answered the call for a tangible experience of global outreach. And also with us is a beautiful sister of our diocese, a daughter of charity, Sister Joanne Dress, Executive Director for the Diocese of Trenton, Office of Catholic Social Service. And she invited the Helping Hands volunteer event to our Eucharistic Congress. Sarah and Sister Joanne are going to share with us today about the Helping Hands volunteer event. They'll also be with us next week to talk with students, a teacher, and a parent from Pope John Paul II Regional School about the impact this project had on them. Sarah and Sister Joanne, God bless you.
Thank you.
God, you're great people. You know, sometimes I like to stop the show and say how great you are, but we got to talk about the whole thing to let everybody know how great you are. So we say welcome. Sarah, maybe tell me a little bit more, tell everybody about the Helping Hands program, how it developed, and gosh,
Sure.
You're a saint.
Not me, but I work with a lot of saints. Catholic Relief Services a few years ago was looking for a way to reach new donors, to reach out our cause to serve the poor and reach more Catholics with that opportunity to live out their faith through serving the poor. And when we did some market research looking at the number of Catholics in the U.S. that attend Mass on a regular basis, we looked at the number that were even globally concerned at all. And out of the over 70 million Catholics, only about 2.6 million Catholics are concerned about what's happening beyond our shores. And that concerned us because that is our mission. So our goal was to find a new way to bring the lives of the poor overseas here to the Catholics in the U.S. and to educate them about how our brothers and sisters overseas still need our help. And that's a tough message these days when our own country is suffering from its own economic recession. And so our further focus groups and market research showed that of those 2 million Catholics who are looking overseas, most of them would rather send something directly. It's really easy to think of the poor and to think you're actually doing helping them in a concrete way if you can hand them those cans of food, if you can make those sandwiches at the soup kitchen. Well, we can't do that really for the poor overseas, but what we can do is send food that we have prepared with our hands and stay connected to those people overseas. We found that that type of direct, tangible volunteer opportunity was what people were looking for. And through a partnership with Stop Hunger Now, who were already conducting these type of volunteer food packaging events, combining the CRS information and catechetical resources for education about hunger and tying it into the social justice context. We could provide a really rich program around a volunteer event and keep the people that come to that event connected to those overseas that CRS is working with to change their lives.
Good stuff. I mean, that is, you know, that's the Holy Spirit. That's, you know what I keep thinking about sometimes in my experience as a priest. You know, we had programs, processes, and it seems like groups like to get together, so they study the scripture, but when it gets to that part of doing something kind of social justice, it seems like there's a slowdown, you know, and this offers them something I think would they'd be very, very happy to get involved in. Tell me something a little bit. So it offers our Catholic groups a hands-on way of sharing.
Right, and starting at the diocesan level, which is what we'll be talking about with the Eucharistic Congress, but a group any size can come together for whatever purposes they have. Some of our dioceses are looking to tie the concept of who is our neighbor. Our neighbor is outside our door, our neighbor is overseas. You can help Catholic Charities locally and all our partners locally at the same time that you can help the people overseas by having an event. So we'll do a food collection at the same time as we'll prepare food to ship overseas. So some dioceses are using it that way. Other dioceses and parishes are looking at the Year of Faith, like we did here, and saying, how can we create an opportunity for our parishioners to kick off, engage in this concept of the corporal, the works of mercy as part of a Year of Faith strategy to really get connected with the poor, specifically this year in that context. Villanova University just booked an event this morning as part of their Hunger and Homelessness Week coming up in November. They will be including a faculty-student event, packaging event, and continue in that discussion throughout the week. And then parishes, youth ministers can look to this as a way to either start a social justice conversation about hunger, perhaps recommit their community to this movement. Maybe they're going to kick off, we had one parish in Baltimore that kicked off a twinning relationship with a country and with a parish overseas by having an event like this. So it's really up to the leaders of the community as to how they want to incorporate this into what they're doing overall and what their goals are.
It seems to me, Sister and Sarah, that this can be done on a smaller basis or a very large basis.
Exactly. As little as 40.
After a Mass, you can, if you wanted to get together in the cafeteria and do something, or
right.
or
40, a group size 40, all the way up to thousands. And at the end of November, the Diocese of Orlando is having a million meal event. 4,000 volunteers coming together to pack 1 million meals in one day. At the same time, all the local partners that serve the poor in Orlando will be on deck to receive food, in-kind gift items, and volunteers so we can continue helping those locally at the same time that we're doing.
And here I'm smiling inside myself, thinking the Lord is probably also smiling, saying, we had a couple of loaves and a couple of fish.
Yeah.
What would you have done if we're going to package it all this way?
Yeah.
It's terrific, isn't it?
Yes.
It's terrific. What countries do you help?
At this point, our focus is Burkina Faso.
Why would that be?
And that's because Burkina is one of the 5 countries in West Africa that are in the midst of a big crisis. They've had droughts for several years. These countries are in the middle of the Sahel Desert. The Sahel runs through them all. And not only are they scarce of food in good times, but in the past few years with the droughts and the flooding they've had, they have little to no food. They rely on the surrounding countries to provide their food. A crisis in Mali has sent refugees, the violence has sent refugees to all these other countries. So where there is no food, there are more people. And so CRS, because we've worked in Burkina Faso for decades, and our food deliveries through U.S. Food Aid have been the crux of the development of that country. We want to sustain them in these times of crisis. We want to make sure that all parts of the population receive this food. The U.S. food is going to the school programs. We saw a need for all of those people that are in centers being served, the safety net populations, but those centers that serve the orphans, the sick, the disabled, the elderly. They don't have a source for food. They can't afford it. In this program, we can provide it for them.
We had a beautiful event, Sister, didn't we?
Oh, we
the
did.
Eucharistic Congress. I mean, you know, you get speechless when you think about the Eucharist and the power of the Eucharist and so many different aspects of it. Tell me a little bit about, you know, the Helping Hands volunteer event at our Congress and how many meals were packaged, and tell me all about this.
Sure. The committee, there was a committee, obviously, the diocesan committee that planned the Eucharistic Congress, sorted out different topics or different groups, targeted different groups for different days of the Congress. And Friday was the Youth Day, obviously because we could get the kids from the schools and some of the parishes and some of the youth groups. So when we were planning, we really looked at it in such a way that saying, okay, what kinds of things would really help them in their faith? So they had presentations, they had musical performances, they had all kinds of things. But one thing that they really, and I'm saying they because I was brought in after that, they really wanted to have some activity that helped to concretize their faith. You know, you go to the Eucharist, but you don't just go home and go on without bringing the Eucharist to whomever you meet. So we really talked a little bit about that, and we came up with 2 different aspects. One, that we would try to help some of the people in the diocese who are having difficulty with food. So there was a food collection that the kids brought, everyone from the school, not just those that came. Those who attended the Congress on Friday were from 7th to 12th grade. But everyone in the school was invited to bring food, and they brought it on the buses, and then they transferred them to the trucks from 4 different agencies, diocesan-wide. But the aspect that we're talking about today is the helping hands, and we really wanted to do that. And someone on the committee had heard, well, certainly knew about CRS and really suggested we look into that. And they kind of brought me on board to see how we might connect. I have to say it was a wonderful experience. The CRS really worked with us because, for instance, usually some of those packaging for the helping hand would be at least a 2-hour process. Well, we wanted 3 or 4 45-minute segments, which means you bring people in and you get started. And so they really worked with us to try to accommodate as many youth as we could to be involved in the food packaging. And at the same time, because we wanted to reach out to so many others in the schools or in the parishes, there was another aspect of that where we did posters and cards. And Sarah sent us information, background information, and they also some of the proverbs. There were proverbs in Burkinabe about sharing. So the children in the schools in particular, from kindergarten all the way up, did posters, and they put some of the words in there, the hello in French or Burkinabe, and pictures of themselves and drawings and all that. And during the Congress, we had I guess it was about 150 to 200 packing each time, right?
Yes.
The youth. And then the other part of the tent where we were, they were actually continuing to do some of these posters. And the posters will go with the food to help them understand who it is that's sending it to them and give them a little bit of information. I was fascinated with the preparation that the youth did. I think that really is the crux of the success or the impact that this has. Some of the schools in particular had Burkina Faso weeks where they tied in all the different subjects. So they did the geography, which I had to look up where Burkina Faso was. They did, you know, what kinds of industry were there, the farming, the herding. You know, they looked at the poverty level and the impact that that has, as Sarah mentioned, you know, the fact that even in good times or normal times, they don't have enough food to feed everyone in the country, and they're impacted by the refugees. And in particular, we kept repeating that those special groups, the elderly, the children, the disabled, and some of the homeless for girls in particular were the target of where this food will go. And they really got excited, and they're still excited. I'm still hearing from parishes and schools that they would like to continue in some way, and we need to keep feeding that. And of course, CRS will help us with that. Mm-hmm. But we've already sent out information about some of the other projects that they have as well as this. And several have already made appointments or have had appointments with CRS personnel to look at how they can continue. So it's got a momentum, you know, to be aware of people in need here, but also internationally. You know, so it was a wonderful experience, and there were some funny things like the hairnets. You know, the boys would say, "Do I have to wear a hairnet?"
The boys had to wear hairnets.
Yeah,
everybody did. And they said, "Yes, we do." And then it was like, "Well, where's mine?" You know.
See, back in my day, we all had little crew cuts. I guess you still had to have a. You know,
you still have
still
health
had to have
department,
them, right?
yeah. But
how many youngsters were we talking about? How many youngsters did you have there?
Well, you know what? It was kind of hard to keep track of them all, to tell you the truth. I think we had about 700 in the end that actually packed food.
The food.
Right? That would be
I
accurate.
think so.
But how many youngsters did you have at the whole Congress?
At the
I mean, doing
Congress,
things?
we had more than 7,000.
Isn't that great, huh? In one day.
And the Friday Eucharist, every seat in the PNC arena was filled, plus they were sitting on the grass. Mm-hmm. It was amazing. So somewhere between 7,000 and 8,000.
From our 4 counties that make up our diocese.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
160 buses.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Sister Joanne brings up a good point, that it is about connections. We want people who participate in this event to feel connected to those that they're helping. And we're going to do that by not only taking the lovely artwork that is created here by the schools over to Burkina and distribute it to the centers, but we'll be able to connect the people in Burkina with the people in the U.S. through video. We hope to maybe have some online interviews with our staff in Burkina, so that we can continue to tell the story and let the kids in Trenton meet some of the individuals that they've actually helped, watch their lives change over time.
And you know what I just noticed from our own experiences. This is not just today.
Yeah.
Right.
20 years from now, those kids will be sitting around someplace, or they'll be in your chairs. You know, I mean, that's how we light the flame. You know, it's a marvelous thing. Yeah. So you've done some pre-event education, a little post-event information. Anything else that you wanted to share about the pre and the post that we should know about?
The post, we've already started sending out some information, and we'll keep it going, particularly through the Catholic schools, you know, information about other programs that they have, you know, Work of Human Hands. A lot of them during the holidays do Work of Human Hands, where are different art artifacts and products made in different countries, and they get a fair share of that. And also I think they keep a percentage if they choose to, or they can donate it. Right. Mm-hmm. But it's a wonderful youth program, which I've seen throughout the diocese already in different places. And it's wonderful little Christmas gifts if you want to.
I was thinking when I was the pastor at St. Paul's in Princeton.
That's right. St. Anne's in Lawrenceville, different ones do it.
Yeah, it was
alternative gift fairs.
Like I used to go Christmas shopping there.
Right, that's right. It works.
One-stop shopping, or whatever they call it.
But they have other things like Food Fast, you know, which is a great retreat program for particularly youth we're focusing on now. They have really development programs, leadership programs, you know, just an amazing amount of material. All our schools, I think, do a wonderful job trying to reach out, being aware of different aspects of service, which is, it's kind of a spreading thing, you know, in different places, not just in our Catholic schools, but even in the different public schools, there are certain service elements to what they do. But for us, it's part of our faith. And they do an amazing job with a great variety of things. And I think they're very interested now, since they've had this experience with Helping Hands, to either replicate that locally or to look at some of the other possibilities that we have and other resources that CRS mentioned. So I think part of what I hope to do, working with Sarah and some of the other CRS staff, is just to keep the information flowing and the contacts whenever they ask for it, and just support them and encourage them in that.
Sarah, can you tell me, you got a little package of the food there.
I do.
Tell me, what do you do? How do you get the way it is now, and what do you do with that?
Well, it's a three-stage process in the event. We set up 3 different stations, and the first one is a funnel with all the ingredients, and people are spread throughout the room at the different stations with their hairnets on and gloves on. They're loading the bags through the funnel with all the ingredients. They're taken from there. They're measured on a scale where they come to the right amount, exact amount. And then from there they go to a sealer, which will take it across the top, and then from there to the packing station. And then, so at the beginning of an event, the room is filled with the raw ingredients, all the equipment, and at the end of the event, all the boxes have been packed. The raw ingredients are in these bags, in boxes, and already loaded back on the truck. So an event can happen as long as you have tables and volunteers. We bring the rest to the door and take all of it away.
What do you have in the bag?
What's in the bag?
Let me tell them that,
Do you have
because
asparagus?
we had a youth, we had somebody from the group who did the rice, and somebody else who did the soy, somebody who did the vegetable ingredients. They had a nutrition pack. What am I missing?
That's it.
3 or 4?
Four ingredients.
Oh, and then we had a runner, because when they finished packing a box, then they took it to the next part where they would weigh it, and then that runner would take it to the next one to seal it. Kids were great. They really were.
It's a fun event. We usually have music going. It's about live. It's a lively. We have it's the liveliness of helping others, and it's that feel-good feeling. And then there's a gong that we ring every 1,000 meals that sort of gives us some markers as to how we're meeting our goal for the end of the event. And then it's also important to know that these meals are not something that can be used in the U.S. They're specially formulated for those that are hungry and starving overseas that really need a high level of nutrition. That's why the vitamin pack is going in. That's why we use a soy protein that has a very high level of protein. So these meals have been scientifically formulated to be shipped overseas to areas where they have no food resources or cannot afford the resources that are available locally.
So you're addressing a particular hunger in a sense.
Exactly.
I mean, it's not just saying, well, here's a hamburger.
Right. We specifically picked partners that we work with in Burkina Faso to receive these meals. We tested to make sure it's what their population needed nutritionally. We also make sure that they have no other resources or access to food before we agree to provide the food. And then we also make sure that our CRS programming is going to take place at the same time. These Helping Hands events provide the resources as well for us to work with these centers to improve their education, if it's young children, to perhaps teach them various trades so that they can sell things on the market. Maybe the young girls are going to make soap for the local market so they can buy food later. They start farm gardens, market gardens on their properties. We are, depending upon who's receiving the food, we look at what is the best solution to solving their hunger long term and helping them to provide their own living, sustain themselves, and to develop a livelihood so that they can live in dignity that they should have, and hopefully graduate these centers after a period of time to a point where they are able to provide their own food, send these people on their way to have their own lives and bring in some new people. We want to take the food away and take it to the other places because we hope they don't need it. We want to get ourselves out of the business.
Sarah, I think that's one of the things that I am most caught up with CRS, that yes, we do disaster relief, you know, when we have terrible things, but they do, I think you referenced it in the beginning, it's not only the disaster relief, it's really working with people to build their self-sufficiency.
Right.
So like in Haiti, if I'm correct in this, they have special education areas where they bring some of the small family farmers in and they work on increasing the growth of their crop. And that even is not often enough. In I forget which country it was, one of the African countries, there was also something that I was just reading that said that often you also have to look at the market and say you don't just grow something and then try to sell it, but you also look at the market and say what will sell best, and then help them grow that and come together as a group and market their product together to give them a little bit more strength in bargaining. So it's really way beyond.
It's a complex solution.
It isn't just, and there are many other examples, you know, training local village women to help the mothers in terms of nutrition and sanitation for their babies when there's a high infant mortality. There's so many different aspects of it that it's far beyond the disaster relief.
And I think they on their part understand that you're doing this because we love them.
Exactly.
I mean, we're brothers and sisters.
Yes.
And that you're not looking for a product to sell them 5 years from now or something of that nature.
It's about our relationship with them.
And not have them be dependent on us, you know, or anybody else, but to be self-sufficient in the ability that they can.
You know, I have a great hope in me that's been there for a long, long time, that from other things I've done or seen, that, you know, we really are brothers and sisters. We're getting closer to understanding that we love each other, we need each other, we work with each other. What kind of feedback quickly have you gotten from others, like either pastors or youth people or
I'm getting calls and people are asking for information. They're saying they're interested, which prompted sending out more information and contacts.
So that
and
we
putting
got
them in touch.
lots more work to do.
Absolutely.
You know, I hope you join us again next week. Sarah and Sister Joanne will be back with some students and a parent and a teacher from Pope John Paul II Regional School in Willingboro, and they're going to tell us firsthand of the impact this Helping Hands volunteer event has had on their school community. God bless you. Open your hearts, get a hold of CRS or whoever, and let's continue our work. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
Sister Joanne.
Thank you, Monsignor.